So it's the end of the first week of looking after all three children throughout the course of the day and trying to complete a little bit of home learning. So I have obviously been sharing on my stories just how we've been getting on and some of the activities that we're doing, and I've had quite a lot of messages from people, which has been great to see that people are kind of finding some of those things that I've shared useful. But also, it's certainly in the last couple of days since they announced that schools are, or the rest of the kind of country are closing, a lot of people feeling quite anxious about next week. So I'm not an education expert, as you can probably gather, but I guess we've been doing this or muddling through for about a week now. So I thought I would just share just some of the things that I've picked up or learned over the course of the week, and it just might help you in terms of just getting your head sort of in the kind of game ready for next week. So I hope you find it useful, and like I say, kind of feel free to kind of whiz on or kind of comment if you've got some other ideas as well, because I think that as a community it's really good that we kind of share just some of our kind of ideas and what we're all kind of up to. So I've got 8 things that I thought it'd be worthwhile kind of sharing, and I'll try and make it as punchy as I can. I've recorded this once and it was far too long, so I'm going to try and do it as whizzy as I can. So the first thing I would say is don't stress about it. And I know lots of people have said this, and there's loads of kind of memes going around Facebook and Instagram of people saying this is a great time for making memories and go bake a cake and play in the garden and all of that kind of stuff, which is absolutely true. And I really fundamentally kind of believe it absolutely is. But the kind of challenge is still there, and what I was kind of finding is day one I kind of took that attitude of this is fine, we're going to just totally go and enjoy ourselves and go and make some memories, and probably by about 11:30 I was getting to the point where actually I realised quite quickly that my children really needed some structure that school gave them, and that wasn't there. So how could I help them with their learning, and how could I put some structure in place to make sure that they still felt a bit of continuity in their lives? So that's what I've tried to do, and that's why I've been kind of sharing kind of a daily kind of planner. So that comes to my kind of second point, which is try and create or get the children to create a routine that you'll be doing each day. So most schools will put up at the start of the day all of the activities that they'll be doing, so the children know when their lunch breaks will be, when their break times are, and just some of the key kind of headings of the sort of topics or activities that they'll do through the day. I didn't do that on day one. Day two, I made up something and put it up, which they found useful. But day three, we got them involved and started kind of getting them to share their ideas, and we've built a routine together, which has been great. And they've really kind of bought into that because they helped build it. So try and get them involved in building a routine, and make sure that you kind of try to broadly stick to it. Now, things like lunches and stuff like that will probably change, and something will happen, and you'll get distracted, and then you come back to it. But I think if you can stay as close to that as you can, the children just love that routine and that continuity of what they were doing at school and bringing that to home. The second thing I would say is sort of do the things that you would normally do. So we didn't, we always walk down to school every day, and we so don't normally take the car. We normally kind of walk down. It's quite a short kind of 10-minute walk, but it kind of signifies that we're going to school. And obviously day one and day two, we weren't walking down to school. So what we've tried to do instead is go either take the dog for a walk or just go for a walk. So we actually leave the house, and it just puts everyone in a better mind frame that when they come back in, we're actually maybe going to spend sort of an hour or 2 hours of doing some learning or doing some of the kind of activity packs that the school have shared. And it just breaks the dynamic, so we're not just staying at home the whole time. The other thing that I found really kind of useful is I've got one of those kind of IKEA trolleys on wheels. So I've just loaded that up with all of their kind of school type stuff, so pencils and pens and paper and some kind of reading books and stuff that we've got. I've loaded that up, and what I do is I kind of wheel that into the space to say, right, okay, well now we're going to do some learning, but I always take it away as well at the end. Now, if you haven't got one of those and stuff, even if you had a kind of container or a box or even just like a pencil pot or something like that, I think it's really important that we don't just get it muddled into the kind of our day-to-day sort of life too much, because I think that confuses sort of children as well. It's quite symbolic when I wheel that trolley in, that children sort of almost the sort of atmosphere and the dynamic changes, and the children know that we're going to do a little bit of learning now. So so try and do something that's quite symbolic like that, even if you can't leave the house, even if you can't change the room that you're in or anything like that, but just do something to signify that it's changing, but make sure that you take it away at the end so that they kind of know actually now it's downtime, it's free time, you can go off and kind of play. Think about snacks and meal times. So as I've sort of said, the routine's really important in terms of the timing of them. Day one, I was being asked all day long, what are we doing next? What are we going to do this afternoon? And I'm hungry. What can I have to eat? What can I have to eat? Have we got any snacks in? Can I get some fruit? Can I get a banana? Can I get this? So you might have seen that we've kind of been doing the sort of the Honesty Box tuck shop idea. So giving the girls £1 every day, and they are now budgeting for the snacks and squash and drinks and things like that they might want throughout the day. So we still obviously giving them their meal time, so they're still getting their breakfast, their lunch, and their dinner time. But anything outside of that window, they need to use their kind of money that they've got. I think if you've got younger children, even if you sort of made some little tokens, so draw a little kind of icon of a banana or an apple, and gave them to them in the morning, so they were sort of trading them in for their snacks throughout the day. I think there's just some real ownership there if you get them to manage it. And for me, it just drives me sort of crazy having all of those questions throughout the day. So I think if you can take the oxygen off that, it's just one less thing that will stress you out throughout the day if you keep getting asked for food and bits and pieces. The fifth thing I would say is just be confident in the resources that are available. So there are so many different things that are available online. There's websites like Twinkle where you can download worksheets that are very age appropriate for different children. People like Joe Wicks are doing PE lessons. OT, I shared earlier in the week, OT's doing dance classes from Strictly, so you can kind of learn a new skill. And then we're using resources that we've got around the house as well. So I've been taking dice out of board games. I've been using magazines to sort of cut out words and do activities with as well. So just use the stuff that you've got around you to make sure that you're not spending loads of money buying loads of new things, but just utilizing the stuff that's free or is available. A lot of these websites and apps are also letting you kind of tap into their resources for free as well, which is really good. So just look out for things like codes and stuff that are online. So just have a good Google and just see what you've got to use there. I've had lots of people say that they are struggling with the age gap of children. So I'm relatively lucky in that my two school-age children are relatively close. So there's one school year between them. Although I'm already seeing there's a bit of a gulf in terms of knowledge and activities that are appropriate for their ages. But I have got a 1-year-old as well, and trying to juggle the 1-year-old with the older two has been quite kind of difficult. But I would definitely say just kind of watch out how you kind of go. We've got a kind of we've almost zoned, and we haven't got a massive living room, but we've kind of zoned the living room. So we've got the dining room table where we've got the kind of learning going on, and then we've got the other end of the living room where we've got a TV and we've got like ball pit and some of the big kind of plastic toys that the 1-year-old's playing with. So we've got some definite zones, albeit we haven't got doors between them, so I can kind of juggle between the two. But if anyone else has got any kind of other tips or ideas that they've got, please kind of comment them below, because it'd be great to kind of share just some of the ideas. So the last two things I would say is absolutely go by the pace of the children. So if you get into the point where you're all running out of steam, then absolutely just sort of close it off. So, little bite size. I've been doing kind of little 15, 20 minute bits of activities or learning, and I've tried to kind of weave them into our normal kind of day-to-day routine. So I'm not sort of spending too much sort of time or energy kind of spending hours and hours doing the same things. We're just doing little kind of bite-sized kind of bits of activity, and that's kind of worked for us. But if they get into the point where they're flagging, or they're getting to the point where I think they're losing interest, we just stop. And that's where things like the kind of Joe Wicks videos, or just sort of go and have a bit of downtime, really work really well, because it just changes the kind of, gets the blood pumping and changes the dynamic that the children are working in. So just take their energy and, don't stress yourself out about it, because at the end of the day, if you're doing something with them, even if it's just reading for 20 minutes a day, it's still something, and they're still getting kind of a benefit from what you're doing. And the last thing I just wanted to kind of say was, lots of people online have been saying they've been donating to food banks and putting lots of stuff in there when they've been doing their shopping, which is just amazing. And obviously our schools are staying open for the most vulnerable children. So as much as key workers are getting access to the school system, so are our children that have got maybe care plans or are in this kind of support of social services. So that's great that those vulnerable children are still getting the routine and continuity of school. The reality will be, as much as they're still going to school, lots of maybe the clubs or support groups that they do outside of school won't be running. So if you're in a position where you are sort of donating to food banks, just think about some of the other stuff that you might be able to add in. So in Asda, for example, this morning they were selling packs of unbranded felt tip pens, 20p. They had little pads of sort of plain paper or coloured paper. So just sticking some of those sorts of things into the food bank, as well as maybe sort of your normal kind of food stuff, just really kind of helps those children to kind of sort of stimulate them and give them some sort of bit of entertainment maybe when they're at home, and they're not able to go to some of the groups that they can do. The other thing that I've seen lots of people doing, which I think is just brilliant, is if you do have a printer at home and you are in a position where you're printing off activity sheets or learning sheets for your children, just think if you can print a few more extra copies and maybe create your own kind of learning pack that, again, when you're in the supermarket and you're buying your shopping, you can chuck in and put into the food bank as well. So for those children that don't have access to a printer or aren't able to tap into those resources, they've still got a kind of way of getting those in. So a really nice way that you can help that doesn't kind of take too much kind of effort or cost loads of money either to kind of do. So just think about those different ways that maybe you might be able to kind of help, so which will kind of benefit those kind of vulnerable children. So I hope that was useful. As I said at the beginning, and my kind of caveat with all of this stuff is I'm not an educational profession, as you can tell, I'm not an education professional. There are lots of accounts, lots of people that can talk about this stuff much better than I can, but hopefully it's just useful and answers lots of the questions that I've been sent over the last kind of few days as we've been kind of muddling through. But if you have got suggestions or you think there's other resources that I've not shared, then please kind of comment on the video and we can hopefully sort of swap some ideas and share those with other people as well. So I hope that was useful, and enjoy the rest of your week.